What if I told you that a strange smell in your home might be quietly working against your health, not just making things unpleasant, but actually accelerating how old you feel? It's subtle. That musty, stale scent that sometimes hits you when you walk in after being away for a while. You might shrug it off or blame it on the weather, your old furniture, or just time. But here's the truth most people never hear. As we age, our sense of smell changes, and we often stop noticing the very odors that signal bigger problems, like hidden mold, bacteria buildup, or even poor air circulation that could trigger breathing issues, fatigue, and mental fog. One woman we spoke to said her daughter stopped visiting with the grandkids because the house just didn't smell right. It wasn't personal. It was environmental. But the real kicker? This isn't hard to fix. You don't need fancy gadgets, sprays, or deep cleaning teams. With just a few simple, natural tricks, and a bit of know-how, you can make your home smell fresh, welcoming, and even younger again. Have you ever walked through your front door and noticed something off, but couldn't quite put your finger on it? You're not alone. Let us know in the comments, what smell have you been trying to get rid of? And if you're ready to feel proud of how your home smells, to breathe easier, and maybe even impress a few guests, hit that like button and subscribe right now. Better Aging Advice brings you real tips that make growing older feel like an upgrade. Let me tell you about Eustace. He's 72, lives in a quiet neighborhood just outside of St. Louis, and has always prided himself on being tidy. Military background. Neatly folded towels, polished shoes, lawn trimmed just right. His house looks clean to the eye, but something invisible had been pushing people away. For months, Eustace noticed that whenever his neighbor stopped by, she never stayed for coffee. His niece, who used to visit every Saturday, suddenly made excuses. Even his mailman started leaving packages at the end of the walkway instead of ringing the doorbell like he used to. It bothered him, but he didn't know what to make of it. Was it him? Was he boring? Too old-fashioned? Then one afternoon, his old friend Calvin came by after a funeral. They sat in the den, sipped tea, and talked about how fast life goes. That's when Calvin leaned in and said something that stuck. "I'm gonna be honest with you, Eustace. Your house always smells kind of old. It's not bad. Just like something's been sitting too long." Eustace didn't get defensive. But he felt a knot in his stomach. He'd never noticed a smell. But he couldn't stop thinking about it after Calvin left. That night, he started sniffing around. Near the curtains. Behind the couch. Inside the hallway closet where he kept his old wool coats. Suddenly, he picked up on it, a kind of stale, heavy scent he couldn't unsmell now that he was paying attention. And here's the part that hit hardest. Eustace realized that smell wasn't just old furniture. It was how aging had crept into his space, quietly, slowly, without permission. Not just dust or dampness, but years of closed windows, forgotten fabrics, and a life lived quietly. The house smelled like memories, but not the kind you want people to carry with them. He remembered something his late wife used to say, "A fresh house lifts a heavy heart." So the next morning, Eustace pulled out a notepad and wrote across the top in big letters, "Fresh start." That was the beginning. Not of a deep clean, but of a reset. Not just for the house, but for Eustace himself. Because as he would soon learn, changing the way your home smells can change how you feel waking up in it. It can change how others feel walking into it. And sometimes, all it takes is the courage to sniff around and ask, what am I really living with? That question led him to 10 small fixes that made a world of difference. Starting with something so basic, most people forget it even matters. Tip 1, airflow is everything. You wouldn't believe how something as invisible as air could make your whole house feel heavier, or lighter. Eustace had a habit that many of us fall into, especially as we get older. Once the colder months rolled in, he sealed everything tight. Windows locked. Draft stoppers placed. Heavy curtains drawn to keep the chill out. He figured he was being smart, saving money on heating, keeping the warm air in. But what he didn't realize was that he'd been trapping something else inside, too, stale air. Air that had been circulating through the same rooms for weeks, sometimes months. Every breath, every bit of cooking steam, every load of laundry, every drop of moisture from the shower, it had nowhere to go. It just lingered. Over time, that stale, heavy feeling became normal to Eustace. He didn't notice it anymore. Until he started opening the windows. It began on a Tuesday morning. A sunny, breezy day in early spring. He cracked open the bedroom window just a few inches while making the bed. Within minutes, the room felt different. Not just cooler, but lighter. Freer. Like the walls could finally breathe again. Encouraged, Eustace opened a second window in the kitchen and turned on the ceiling fan. A soft cross breeze started to flow. For the first time in months, the house had life moving through it again. He committed to a new ritual, 15 minutes of fresh air, every day. Rain or shine. Even in winter, he'd crack the windows for just a few minutes while bundled up. It was enough to stir the air, to let the old out and the new in. What surprised him most? Within 3 days, that musty scent in his hallway had vanished. His den, which always carried a faint odor of old carpet, suddenly smelled neutral, like nothing at all. And that was exactly what he wanted. A blank slate. You see, we often overlook air. It's too ordinary. But without good airflow, all the sprays, candles, and cleaning products in the world won't help. Odors get stuck. Dampness settles into corners. Dust clings harder. But the moment you let the outside in, your home starts healing itself. Eustace now says it's the single easiest fix he's ever made. When was the last time you aired out your home? Seriously, crack that window, just for a few minutes. Then come back and tell us in the comments what you noticed. Did the room feel different? Did you feel different? Sometimes the secret to a younger feeling home is as simple as letting it breathe. Tip 2. Citrus peel bowls. Eustace had a little morning ritual: a warm cup of tea, a sliced orange, and the crossword puzzle. But until recently, those orange peels would go straight into the trash, along with their hidden magic. That changed the day he stumbled across a yellowed newspaper clipping tucked inside one of his late wife's cookbooks. It wasn't a recipe. It was a handwritten note from her grandmother, passed down through generations. Lemon peels in bowls. Kitchen, bathroom, bedroom. Clears the air better than anything from a can. At first, Eustace chuckled. It sounded like something out of a folklore book. But curiosity got the better of him. He saved the next morning's orange peels, cut them into strips, and placed them in a small ceramic bowl near the kitchen sink. No fancy oils, no sprays. Just peels. He did the same with a few lemon rinds and set another bowl near the bathroom door. Within hours, he noticed it. A soft, fresh brightness in the air, not overpowering like store-bought sprays, but natural. Clean. Alive. It was like the citrus had quietly whispered away that underlying stale smell he didn't even realize had settled in. By day 3, the effect was even stronger. Every time he walked into the kitchen, it greeted him. Not with chemicals or artificial perfumes, but with something simple and nostalgic. The kind of scent that reminded him of childhood summers, lemonade stands, and fresh washed linens drying in the sun. The best part? It was completely effortless. No need to light anything. No plugins. Just peels in bowls, swapped out every few days. And here's something you might not know. Citrus peels naturally release essential oils into the air, oils that neutralize odors and even act as mild antimicrobial agents. It's a trick grandmothers knew before air fresheners were even invented. Eustace began rotating between orange, lemon, and even grapefruit when he wanted a stronger lift. Each bowl became its own little mood booster. Visitors started commenting, not about odd smells, but about how fresh and inviting his home felt. One neighbor even asked what candle he was using. Eustace just smiled and pointed at the bowl of peels sitting innocently on the windowsill. So, the next time you enjoy an orange or lemon, think twice before tossing the peel. Set it out. Let it work. Let it do what it's been quietly doing for centuries. But the next tip is the one that really surprised Eustace. It's what finally helped him tackle that stubborn old book smell that had settled into his bedroom over the years. Tip 3. Baking soda bombs. When Eustace first heard about baking soda's magic powers, he thought, isn't that just for baking or scrubbing pans? It sounded too simple to be true. But as he began digging deeper, he found out it was one of the oldest and most effective tricks for banishing unwanted odors, without any harsh chemicals or overpowering scents. His aha moment came after he caught a faint but persistent smell coming from his living room. It was subtle, like a mix of old fabric and forgotten dust, but enough to nag at him every time he sat down to read. Instead of buying sprays or air fresheners, he decided to try a no-fuss, low-cost solution: open jars of baking soda placed strategically around the house. Eustace placed a small mason jar filled halfway with baking soda under the couch, another by the heater vent, and one tucked deep inside his closet where winter coats and sweaters lived. He didn't cover the jars, he left them open so the baking soda could work its magic by absorbing and neutralizing odors from the air. Within a week, he noticed the difference. It wasn't just a feeling or a hope, it was real. The musty undertone that used to greet him in the living room was gone. The closet no longer smelled like forgotten winter gear. Even the hallway, which always carried a faint stale hint, felt fresher. What surprised Eustace most was how simple it was. No sprays to inhale, no masks or gloves needed. Just plain baking soda quietly pulling bad smells out of the air, like an invisible sponge. If you think about it, baking soda's power lies in its natural chemistry. It reacts with acidic and basic odor molecules, neutralizing them instead of just masking them. That means it doesn't cover up smells with perfume, it gets rid of the source. And unlike many commercial products, it's completely safe to use around pets, kids, and especially older adults sensitive to chemicals. Eustace even made a little game out of it. Every Sunday afternoon, he would check his baking soda bombs, giving the powder a quick stir and topping up the jars if needed. It became part of his weekly routine, simple, satisfying, and surprisingly effective. Have you ever tried baking soda this way in your home? Share your experience below. If not, maybe it's time to give these little odor fighters a chance. You might be amazed how something so ordinary can make your home feel fresh and inviting again. Tip 4. The forgotten trash can trick. Here's something that Eustace discovered almost by accident, one of those simple fixes that sounds too small to matter but makes a huge difference. For years, he struggled with a subtle, lingering odor in the kitchen area. No matter how often he took out the trash or scrubbed the bin, there was always a faint smell lurking nearby. It wasn't a dramatic stink, just a slow, creeping presence that made the whole kitchen feel less inviting. One afternoon, while cleaning out the garbage can, Eustace remembered a tip his sister once mentioned during a family visit: try sprinkling baking soda at the bottom of your trash cans. It helps soak up odors before they even have a chance to get going. He wasn't convinced at first. Baking soda was his go-to for the living room and closets, but could it really work in the trash? He gave it a shot, sprinkling about 2 tablespoons of baking soda in the bottom of his kitchen trash can. Then, he added a dryer sheet under the liner, not inside the trash, but right under the plastic bag. The idea was simple: the baking soda would absorb wet smells and odors, while the dryer sheet would provide a fresh scent without being overpowering. Within a day, Eustace noticed a subtle but distinct change. The kitchen felt fresher, cleaner, and that old kitchen trash smell was noticeably less aggressive. Over the next week, the effect only got stronger. What Eustace loved most was how this little trick stopped odors before they started. Instead of waiting for the garbage to get stinky and then reacting, the baking soda and dryer sheet worked proactively. It was like having a tiny odor-fighting guard stationed at the base of his trash cans. The best part? This trick works for all trash bins, kitchen, bathroom, even the outdoor garbage can where recyclables sit. Eustace started sprinkling baking soda in every bin in his house and noticed that his whole home smelled fresher without lifting a finger. Have you ever tried this? Or maybe you have your own clever trick for keeping trash smells in check? Share your ideas below, we'd love to hear what works for you. Keep watching, because the next tip is one of Eustace's favorite discoveries. Tip 5. Use vinegar, but not where you think. Vinegar is one of those household staples that seems to have endless uses, from cleaning windows to preserving pickles, but when Eustace first heard it could help with odors, he was skeptical. Could something with such a strong smell actually make his house smell better? Here's the catch: you don't spray vinegar like a perfume or pour it directly on your fabrics. Instead, Eustace learned the secret is to use vinegar passively, letting it quietly absorb odors rather than trying to mask them. One evening, after noticing the faint musty smell that always seemed to settle in his study, Eustace placed small bowls of plain white vinegar in each corner of the room before going to bed. He didn't stir or mix anything, just simple vinegar sitting still in open containers. Overnight, the vinegar worked its quiet magic. By morning, the musty smell had significantly lifted, replaced by a fresh, clean atmosphere. It wasn't the sharp vinegar scent many people expect, it had vanished, leaving behind nothing but pure, refreshed air. Why does this work? Vinegar is mildly acidic and can neutralize many odor-causing molecules floating in the air. Instead of covering smells with fragrances or chemicals, vinegar actually draws them out and breaks them down. It's like an invisible vacuum for bad smells. Eustace started using this method regularly in rooms prone to dampness or stale air, especially in the basement and his study, where books and old furniture tend to hold onto odors longer. The best part? It's completely natural, safe, and inexpensive. But remember, don't use vinegar directly on wood or delicate fabrics, as its acidity can damage surfaces. The trick is in the bowl, not the spray bottle. Have you ever tried leaving out bowls of vinegar to refresh a room? Or maybe you've avoided vinegar because of the smell? Let us know your experience in the comments. Coming up, the essential oil combo that reminds Eustace of Sunday mornings in church, an aroma that brings warmth, calm, and a fresh start to any room. Tip 6. The essential oil radiator hack. Eustace had always been drawn to simple comforts: the gentle hum of his old radiator, the cozy warmth filling his living room on chilly mornings. But one day, a little idea sparked when he read about using essential oils with heat to naturally scent a home. It wasn't about candles or sprays, it was about letting warmth gently carry soothing aromas throughout the house. He decided to experiment with lavender and lemon oils, 2 scents that felt familiar and calming, yet fresh. Lavender reminded him of quiet Sunday mornings, soft hymns playing in the background of his childhood church, while lemon brought a bright, sunny zest, like a fresh breeze in spring. Eustace soaked a few cotton balls with just a couple of drops of these oils, enough to smell, but not too much to overpower the senses. He then tucked them near his radiator vents, where the rising heat would slowly warm the oils and release their fragrance into the air. The effect was magical. As the room warmed, a gentle, comforting scent began to fill the space, soft and subtle, like a whispered invitation to relax. It wasn't an artificial fragrance that screamed for attention. Instead, it created a peaceful background ambience that made Eustace feel at ease after a long day. This simple hack didn't just freshen the air, it transformed the atmosphere. The familiar scent sparked memories and lifted spirits, turning ordinary rooms into havens of calm and comfort. Visitors often commented on how inviting the home felt, without even knowing why. What made this approach especially perfect for older adults like Eustace was its simplicity and safety. There were no flames, no complicated diffusers, and no harsh chemicals. Just natural oils working with everyday warmth to create a gentle, uplifting environment. If you want to try this at home, here's a quick tip: use high-quality essential oils from a trusted source, and be mindful not to overdo the drops. A little goes a long way. Place the cotton balls in small breathable containers or bowls near heat sources, like radiators or heating vents, not directly on them, to avoid any damage. Have you ever experimented with essential oils and heat in your home? What scents bring you comfort or happy memories? Share your thoughts in the comments below, we'd love to hear your favorites. Stay tuned, because the next tip is one that helped Eustace eliminate a stubborn odor in his carpets that no vacuum or spray could touch. Tip 7. Carpet Powder Magic. Eustace always believed that a fresh-smelling home starts from the ground up. After struggling with lingering odors trapped deep in his carpets, he decided to take matters into his own hands with a natural, homemade solution that would surprise even the most skeptical guests. One afternoon, while reading through an old gardening book, Eustace stumbled upon an idea: why not combine the odor-fighting power of baking soda with the fresh, invigorating scent of herbs and spices? Inspired, he crafted a special carpet powder blend made of 3 simple ingredients: baking soda, crushed dried rosemary, and just a dash of cinnamon. Baking soda, of course, is famous for absorbing and neutralizing odors. Rosemary, with its fresh, woody aroma, added a crisp herbal note that reminded Eustace of his grandmother's garden. Cinnamon brought a warm, comforting spice, evoking cozy afternoons by the fireplace. Together, these 3 created a powerful, natural deodorizer that didn't just mask smells, it transformed them. Eustace sprinkled this fragrant powder generously over his carpets and rugs, focusing especially on high-traffic areas where odors tended to settle. He let it sit for at least 20 minutes, long enough for the mixture to work its magic but short enough to fit into his busy day. Then, with his trusty vacuum, he cleaned it all up. The results? Remarkable. Not only did the carpet smell fresh and inviting, but visitors began to comment on an unexpected, pleasant aroma filling the rooms. One close friend even asked, "What cologne have you been wearing?" "It's wonderful." Eustace chuckled, knowing it was his secret carpet powder doing all the work. What makes this tip especially useful for older adults is its ease and affordability. No complicated products, no harsh chemicals, just a simple blend of things you might already have in your kitchen or pantry. Plus, it's safe for pets and sensitive noses, a real plus for anyone concerned about allergies or respiratory health. If you want to give this a try, here's a quick recipe. Mix 1 cup of baking soda with 2 tablespoons of crushed dried rosemary and half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Sprinkle it evenly over your carpets, let it sit, then vacuum thoroughly. Feel free to experiment with other dried herbs or spices. Lavender, thyme, or even a hint of clove can add your own personal touch. Have you ever used homemade carpet powders before? Or do you have a favorite natural scent you love around the house? Share your tips in the comments, we're always excited to learn new ideas from you. Tip 8. The Bookcase Coffee Trick. Eustace had always been an avid reader. His home was lined with shelves full of books, some dating back decades. But over time, he noticed a faint, musty odor settling around his bookcase, a smell that wasn't quite mildew but carried the weight of years gone by. It was the kind of smell that whispered old attic or forgotten memories, and no amount of dusting seemed to fix it. One day, while sipping his morning coffee, Eustace had a simple idea inspired by the rich aroma filling his kitchen. Why not use coffee grounds to fight that stale book smell? Coffee grounds are known for their natural ability to absorb odors, thanks to their porous texture and bold scent. But instead of brewing a cup, Eustace decided to let the grounds work behind the scenes. He took a small, shallow bowl and filled it with fresh coffee grounds, just enough to cover the bottom. Then, he carefully placed the bowl tucked behind his bookcase, nestled in a spot where it wouldn't spill or get disturbed. The idea was for the coffee grounds to quietly absorb and neutralize the musty odors trapped among the pages and shelves. Within a few days, Eustace noticed a remarkable change. The heavy, stale scent had lifted, replaced by a subtle, warm aroma reminiscent of a cozy cafe. The difference was so clear that his family commented on how much fresher the room felt. And the best part? There was no overpowering fragrance or chemical smell, just a natural, comforting scent that brought a touch of everyday joy. This trick is especially useful for older adults who cherish their books and want to maintain a fresh living environment without harsh cleaners. It's simple, safe, and incredibly effective at dealing with odors that often hide in unexpected places. If you have old bookshelves or storage areas that tend to smell a bit aged, try this coffee grounds method. Just remember to refresh the coffee every 2 weeks or so, as the grounds will gradually lose their effectiveness. Do you have old books at home? Try this one and let us know how it works in the comments. Have you discovered other natural ways to keep your reading nook fresh? Share your ideas, we're eager to hear from you. Tip 9, DIY simmer pot for seniors. Sunday mornings had always meant something special to Eustace. A time for quiet reflection, a fresh start, and the little rituals that made his house feel like a home. One of those rituals? A simple simmer pot on the stove, a recipe passed down from his late wife, now revived to bring not just a fresh scent, but a deep sense of peace and nostalgia. Eustace fills a small saucepan with water, slices up a fresh orange, drops in a couple of cinnamon sticks, and tosses in a few whole cloves. As it simmers on low heat, the house slowly fills with a warm, spicy citrus aroma. It's not artificial. It doesn't blast you like a spray. It wraps around you like a hug from the past, soothing, gentle, and full of memory. This isn't just about masking odors. For Eustace, it's about creating atmosphere. The scent reminds him of holidays, of baked treats cooling on the counter, of mornings when the house was filled with laughter and the sounds of slippers shuffling on hardwood floors. It transforms his space, not just in scent, but in spirit. The beauty of the simmer pot lies in its simplicity. There's no special brand to buy. No chemical list to decipher. Just ingredients you likely already have in your kitchen. And the customization is endless. Eustace sometimes swaps the orange for apple slices, or adds a sprig of rosemary for a more herbal note. If he's expecting guests, a few drops of vanilla extract join the mix, making the whole house smell like he's been baking all day. But it's more than just fragrance. This little pot on the stove has become a weekly mindfulness ritual for Eustace. He puts on a record, watches the steam rise, and lets the scent anchor him in the present. For many seniors, routines like this bring stability and calm, especially when the house feels too quiet or the weather keeps them indoors. It's also a great conversation starter. Neighbors pop in and ask, "What smells so good?" And suddenly, Eustace finds himself sharing the story, the recipe, and the warmth it brings. If you've never tried a simmer pot, start small. A saucepan, some water, and a few aromatic ingredients. Let it simmer gently on the stove, keeping an eye on the water level. You'll be amazed at how fast your home transforms, without a single spray or plug-in. What's your favorite comforting scent from the past? Is there a smell that instantly takes you back? Share your story in the comments, we'd love to hear it. Coming up next, the final tip Eustace swears by. The one that made him feel like he'd moved into an entirely new home. And it's easier than you think. Tip 10, Fabric Renewal Spray. Eustace always prided himself on a tidy home, but he couldn't deny that certain fabrics held on to a tired, stale scent. It wasn't bad exactly, just flat. Like air that had given up. His curtains, throw pillows, even the armchair he loved for afternoon naps, they all seemed to whisper that time had passed. Then he discovered a trick so simple, it felt like cheating. No fancy product, no expensive gadget. Just 3 humble ingredients and a mist bottle. He combined 1 part vodka with 3 parts water and added 10 drops of eucalyptus essential oil. That's it. No dyes, no overpowering perfumes, just a refreshing, natural formula that gently lifted the air in every room. Vodka may sound strange, but it's odorless, evaporates quickly, and kills bacteria that cause lingering smells. Eucalyptus? Crisp, clean, and oddly invigorating, like a breath of mountain air. Eustace gave it a try. He lightly misted his curtains, careful not to soak them. He spritzed his couch cushions, the throw blanket he always kept folded over the armrest, even the rug in his entryway. The effect wasn't instant, like a synthetic air freshener would be. It was subtle. Gradual. But by the next morning, the entire house carried a sense of calm freshness. Not like something had been covered up, but like something stale had been let go. Even his bedroom felt different. He began lightly misting the bedspread each morning as he made the bed. Over time, the room started to feel more restful, cool, clean, and welcoming. That tiny daily ritual helped reset his mood. It wasn't just a scent, it was a message to himself: you deserve a space that feels alive. Guests began commenting on it too. One neighbor asked if he'd gotten new furniture. Another said it reminded her of a boutique hotel she stayed in once. Eustace smiled. It felt good to know his home didn't just look clean, but felt fresh, down to the softest fabric. This spray has since become part of his weekly routine. He keeps a bottle by the coat rack and another in the bathroom. A couple of spritzes is all it takes to transform a tired room into something serene and breathable. For older adults, this kind of natural refresh is a game changer. It doesn't rely on heavy chemicals that can irritate allergies or affect indoor air quality. It's budget-friendly, completely customizable. Try lavender, lemon, or rosemary if eucalyptus isn't your favorite, and it brings new life to spaces that often get overlooked. Try it. One small spray bottle. A little vodka, some water, a few drops of your favorite oil. Mist it over your fabrics and see how quickly your space shifts from dull to delightful. Have you made your own fabric spray before? Or do you have a favorite oil you swear by? Let us know in the comments, we'd love to hear your recipe. 3 weeks. That's all it took. Just 10 small changes. No remodel, no new furniture, no air purifiers that sounded like jet engines. And yet, everything about Eustace's home felt different. It started with him noticing it first. He'd walk into the living room and take a deep breath, not out of habit, but because it felt good. The sharp edge of stale air was gone. In its place? A calm, clean scent that lifted his mood without him even realizing it. His house didn't just smell better, it felt lighter. Brighter. As if the very air had been cleared of the past. And with that shift, something else changed too. Eustace started opening the windows more. He hummed while folding laundry. He stayed in his favorite armchair longer, sipping tea with the kind of ease he hadn't felt in years. He even started lighting a candle some evenings, not to mask a smell, but because he enjoyed the flicker of warmth. That sense of just getting by had quietly been replaced by a feeling of peace. Of pride. Then came the visit. The same friend who'd once said his house smelled old rang the bell on a Friday afternoon. Eustace opened the door, a little nervous, a little hopeful. But the reaction? Instant. His friend paused at the threshold, took a long breath in, and blinked. Wow. Your home smells like a spa. Eustace didn't say anything at first. Just smiled. That wide, easy kind of smile that comes from quiet victories. From knowing you've made a change that mattered, not for anyone else, but for yourself. And it wasn't just about the scent. It was what the scent meant. It meant intention. Effort. A reminder that you're not stuck with the way things are. That you can renew, refresh, and reclaim comfort, at any age. That afternoon, they sat at the kitchen table, sipping chamomile tea. The citrus bowl on the counter gave off a soft, clean note. The curtain swayed with a gentle breeze from a cracked window. And for the first time in a long time, Eustace didn't feel older than he was. He just felt, well. That's the power of environment. That's the power of care. And sometimes, it starts with the air you breathe. Have you ever made small changes that led to a big shift in how you feel at home? Share your story below, we're all ears. A fresh smelling home isn't just a bonus, it's a foundation. It shapes how you start your mornings and how you wind down at night. It's what welcomes your guests, holds your memories, and protects your peace. For older adults especially, this goes beyond keeping things tidy. It's about preserving dignity, creating joy, and honoring the space you've built over a lifetime. Because when your home smells clean and feels vibrant, you feel more alive in it. You walk with more confidence. You rest more deeply. You breathe easier, literally and emotionally. This isn't about impressing others. It's about you feeling good the moment you step inside. And the best part? It doesn't take expensive gadgets or professional help. Just small, consistent shifts, just like the ones Eustace made. Remember this, the state of your home reflects the care you give yourself. And you deserve care that's thoughtful, loving, and empowering. You deserve to live in a space that makes you feel alive every single day. If even one of these tips sparked a new idea or helped you see your space differently, do something simple but powerful, hit that like button. Share this video with someone who's ready for their own home refresh. And if you want more ways to live better, not just longer, subscribe to Better Aging Advice. Because aging well isn't about slowing down. It's about waking up to the life you still have to enjoy.